Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena. I'm a local real estate agent here in Lafayette, and if you haven't been to my channel before, welcome. I talk about real estate and everything Lafayette, and sometimes a bit of finance is built in there. If you have been back to my channel, welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on here and watching my video. So I'm going to go ahead and just get right to it. So you're thinking about buying a house in Lafayette. Congratulations. This place is awesome. You're going to love it. There's so much to do, and I could literally just go on and on. But let me go ahead and get right into it. So if you're looking to buy a house, this is exactly the step-by-step process that I would teach you on how it would work. So the first step that I would recommend is to interview lenders. So I would recommend you interview about 3 to 5 lenders, only because you want to do this beforehand. So before you even consider, like, you have an inkling in your mind, you're like, hey, I possibly want to buy a house here the next 6 months, the next year. I'm a big advocate for planning ahead. So I always like to tell my clients, go to a lender. You don't have to have them pull your credit, but let's just see where you are financially. And honestly, you want to interview lenders to see which program works best for you. A lot of lenders have a lot of different programs, and some lenders might not have the best program that fits your needs. So it's almost like an interview process. You definitely want to talk to everybody, see who you vibe with the best, see who you communicate with the best, and make your decision there. And that way, when you find out what lender provides the best value to you and what program is the best for you, you can just start chipping away at those steps to get to that point and qualify for that program, instead of just having to save 20%, not knowing, what you should be doing with or without your credit. Can you do this? Can you do that? There's just so many blind spots that I would recommend that you don't know. So it's just best that you look into lenders and you check it out, so you are best familiar with like what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, the first step is I would recommend you speak to 3 to 5 lenders. And I say this because you want to see who fits best with you. Every lender has a different program as far as in their bank. So you want to interview each and every lender to see which program they have best fits your needs, because you would rather plan for the program that fits for you than to plan and not have any idea, what goal you're trying to reach, because it'll be very difficult. It might lengthen the time that you have to save up your money, and you could have just done it in 3 months instead of having to save for those 6 months. All right, so now that you've interviewed 3 to 5 lenders, you don't have to do full 5. If you found somebody within the 3 or within the 2, great for you. But I still recommend you, look at all your options. Now that you found the lender that you love, choose the top 2 programs that you want to go for. And I say that because you never know what's going to happen to your first choice. If they end up, not working anymore, they get rid of the program, you always want to have a backup. So I recommend you have your first choice and then you have your second choice. And so what you'll do is, once you have those 2 choices, you'll go on, the next step, which is a plan on how to achieve and how to qualify for those 2 programs. Like I said, just in case one of them doesn't work out. Pause. Go. So by planning for these programs and knowing exactly which goal you're trying to reach, this is going to help you tremendously as far as time and just clarity. Because now that you know what you're trying to do, how much you're trying to save, exactly where you have to get your credit score, it could literally cut your time in half for saving for a house. You may actually find out that you don't even need to do as much as you think you have to do. There's so many programs out here that help first-time home buyers with 0% down or even 3.5% down. So like I said, it's always best to know your options. All right, so now that you know which programs that you're going to use, I always recommend you get a pre-qualification letter from your lender. Now what this is a pre-qualification letter does not pull your credit. What they do is they'll take all the information that you've given to them, and based on that information, they will give you an amount that you're likely approved for. Now, do be mindful that a pre-qualification, they do not go and check your references. Like I said, they do not check your credit score. So it is not going to be 100% accurate. It is just completely based on the information you've given them. Because when they do, that is what comes into play with a pre-approval. So a pre-approval, the lender will actually go and check all your credibility, your financial history. They'll actually call your employers, and they'll really dig deep into your credit, into your the hard inquiries that you have on there to check if what you're saying and the paperwork that you've given is something they can actually qualify you for. So just be mindful that a pre-approval, they run your credit and they do check everything. A pre-qualification, they do not. So when you go to a lender, let's say you're 6 months out, go ahead and get that pre-qualification letter, see where you're at. You can even do, if you're comfortable with it, you can do that pre-approval as well. But it's just nice to see where you're at, how much you could qualify for as how much house, because you may have a house that you want that's $350,000, $400,000. And when you do your pre-qualification or your pre-approval, you found out, hey, I'm only approved for $250,000. So this will help you figure out what else you need to do to get to your dream home and to get to that price point that you want, to better help you and your family live the lifestyle that you're wanting for yourself. All right, so now you've interviewed lenders. What's next? Now it's time to interview real estate agents. Now, what I'll say is sometimes, actually, a lot of real estate agents have lenders that they work with. So if you wanted to, you could always do these steps backwards. You could interview the real estate agent first, or you could interview the lenders first. It just really depends on your preference. But the next step I would say is to interview a real estate agent, and not just one. I want you to follow the same rules as the lender and interview 3 to 5 agents, because you definitely want to figure out who works best for you. Now, agents, everybody is different. We all have different personalities. We all have different things we like to do. And so that's why I say when you interview these agents, have a list of questions that you want to ask them. See who best fits your personality, who communicates the best with you, who makes you feel the most comfortable in the process, because these people are going to be the people that you lean on, the people you're going to be talking to the most, and the one that you really have to trust in the whole process with such a big decision. So you definitely want to be with somebody that you know, hands down, is going to take care of you in the best way possible and not make this a stressful situation for you. I have a separate video on how to choose the best agent for you, how to hire an agent, how to fire an agent, and the questions you should ask that'll make it easier the entire process. I'm going to link the video down here below. Definitely check it out. Let me know in the comments the #1 quality that you guys look for in an agent and what you wish they would improve on. Definitely leave a comment out below and just let me know, because I want to see what you guys think and what your answers are. All right, so now you're ready to buy a house. You guys are in the looking phase. You're looking for beautiful homes to live in. It is the most exciting part. But you're asking yourself, well, how do I know which house is the right one for me? Here are just a couple questions I would recommend you ask yourself. Is it close to all of the areas the areas you frequently visit? So I would put on a list the top 3 areas or top 3 places you always love to go. And whenever you're visiting a home, map it out and see about what's the distance that is from your potential home to those 3 pinpoints on the map. And just see gauge how far it is, because it could be too far and that may be a deal breaker. I myself, I like to be somewhere that's close to where I'm going. So if I'm close to work, if I'm close to, going, having stuff to do, going downtown, just doing a lot of stuff, I actually love to be within a close proximity of it. And I know some other people like that too. So you always want to make sure that where you're living is going to be convenient for you. You don't want to get this beautiful, gorgeous house and it completely, when you get into the day-to-day life of living in it, it becomes a drag because your work is 45 minutes away, or the place you love to go eat at is now also 40 minutes away when it used to be 10. The second thing I would recommend is see what areas of town you like to be in. Everybody has their preference. There's nothing wrong with any areas, but it really just depends on how you like to live your lifestyle. Are you a person that loves to be in downtown area? You love to come outside and see, people on the sidewalk walking, talking to new people, just engaging, being a part of that life, that hustle bustle life, and that awesome nightlife that downtown has. You want to gauge, what is your personality like? What do you like? If you're not somebody who likes to be around a lot of people and you love your space, you want to make sure that the area that you're in does not have, houses close together. You want to kind of go for those homes that have at least an acre of land or half an acre, with a lot of space apart, so you're more comfortable with your living situation. And so now Louisiana does flood. I want you to be very, very aware. Louisiana does flood. And so when you're picking an area, always check, is that house in a flood zone? Because your flood insurance will be higher if you're in a flood zone than if you're not in a flood zone. And also just be aware that you can never predict when it will flood. So if it's already in a flood zone, be mindful that you are going to have to make the preparations in the future in case it does flood, that is going to be a potential problem. Another couple of things that I would like to recommend that y'all do is I want you to check out the house at different times of the day. So go check out the house at night when nobody's there. You want to see what your street is going to look like at night. You want to see if you feel safe in your neighborhood and if anything happens that maybe you're uncomfortable with. Like for example, maybe it's too dark or it's too dimly lit, or you found out there's just a couple situations that you're just not, the dog barks all the time. That's definitely a big one. You want to see the neighborhood at different hours of the day to see what is that neighborhood like. There are a lot of people congregate, at night and walk around and talk to each other and things like that. I would recommend knock on the neighbors' doors. Knock on their door and say, hey, I'm thinking about moving into the neighborhood. What do y'all think of it? You will get a lot of information that way because the neighbors love to talk about what's going on in the neighborhood. So you will definitely know everything at that point. Another thing is go check out the house when any kind of weather changes happen. So if it's raining, it doesn't snow here, so there would be no snow. But yeah, if it's raining really bad or there's a really bad storm and you're looking for a house during that time, go check it out. See, does that house have the proper systems put in place where it's not going to have any kind of leaks, there's no damage, there's no like water damage anywhere and things like that. So they'll definitely help you see if there's anything wrong with the property. House hunting is no easy task. It definitely is a lot of work on the realtor's part, but I would say honestly, it is a lot of work on the buyer's side as well, because this is your home, so you're going to be the one wanting to check out the house at different times of the day, or driving around the neighborhood and meeting the neighbors, because even if the realtor could do that for you, they're not going to see what you see or feel what you feel in the place you want to live. A lot of buying a home is feeling like this is your home, so they may be able to provide the factual points of what the home is offering to you, and they could even see if there's any leaks or any potential problems with the home, but they won't be able to see if this feels right. So only you will be able to know that. So I definitely recommend doing that due diligence and going out, having a conversation, seeing how you feel in your new neighborhood, and seeing if it's the right fit for you, because there's always a due diligence period where you can remove yourself from the contract and say, hey, this is not the house for me, I don't like this and this, and that is totally okay. But this is a house, this is a big commitment, you don't want to take it lightly, and you definitely want to make sure this is the best fit for you. Here's something I don't see a lot of people talk about, but I definitely want to mention it because it is a realistic situation that's going to have to happen during the process of buying your house. If you're living out of state, it is incredibly difficult to buy a house in a state you can't see anything in. You don't know the area, you can't see the house in person, so you really don't get any of that feelings factor that comes into a house, and that could really be a big problem. So I would recommend having enough saved up to move into a short-term rental for maybe 2 weeks or to a month, or however long it really takes. If you can do that while you're really relocating, so you can physically see your homes and you can see if this is a right fit for you. You can walk that neighborhood, you can do basically everything I mentioned before, and it just really helps do that better. I know a lot of people that move into their homes from out of state and they're just not happy because they see it in the pictures and it doesn't look anything like the pictures when they get there, and you can definitely, they don't get the vibe isn't right for them. So I would recommend having enough money saved up to where you can put yourself in a short-term rental for about a month or so while you're looking for your home, and also for storage fees, because you're going to be moving all your stuff into a storage facility for about a month. And normally those cost roughly around $150 to $200 a month. So those are definitely fees that nobody talks about, but especially when you're moving, it's going to be something that'll make your life so much easier. This also applies if you're selling your house and you are trying to buy a new house in the same area, or vice versa if you're moving out of state. Just to have like extra money saved up so you can put your stuff in storage just in case that special house comes up on the market that you want to buy and you're like, I can't miss this opportunity. I have to buy that house because this is my dream house. So I would definitely recommend having that saved up, or just like a little nest egg for that on the side. All right, so now you found the house that you love. You want to put an offer in. You put your offer in and it gets accepted. Now, as far as putting an offer in, if you want questions on how to put your offer in so it can be the best possible offer, I'll definitely make a video about that, and I can link it in below whenever I do make it so you guys can watch it. But once you get your offer put in and let's say it gets accepted, you're going to be moving on to the next step. When you're under contract, the following is going to happen. You're going to put in your earnest money deposit, which basically is needed within the first 3 days of getting your contract accepted. And what that means is you're basically putting money down on your house. It's about $500 to $3,000. It really is dependent on how much you're willing to put up there. You can do any amount really. There's some states that don't require earnest money deposit, but I have not seen a contract that doesn't have it, because a seller more than likely will not accept it if you do not have it. The next step is, after the earnest money inspection or earnest money deposit, you're going to do your 2 inspections. You have the regular inspection, which you go through the house, you check to see if anything's wrong with the house that you'd like to fix. And then the next inspection is going to be the termite inspection. So once you get the termite inspection, they're gonna ask you for a bond, which basically just sees if you want to protect the home for the whole year against any kind of termite. The next thing is the mineral rights. So in Louisiana, we have something called mineral rights. And what that means is that you're going to put in your contract how much of the home's mineral rights, or actually the land's mineral rights, you want to own, and negotiate that with the seller. So basically what that means is, let's say you don't want any mineral rights, it's 0%, and you buy the house. And later on, they tear down your house, after maybe you moved out and you rented it out, and they want to start drilling there, and they find, they find whatever, they drill some oil and they find some oil on your land. You are not entitled to any compensation from that because you own 0% of the mineral rights. So the previous owner owned all of the mineral rights, and they would get all the compensation for that. So you'd lose out on that part. So that's just basically what you want to be aware of in Louisiana. It is a little bit different from other states, but we do have those in our contracts. Now you have appraisal. So appraisal is going to tell you how much your house is worth. Now when they do the appraisal and they come back, if your appraisal is lower than the price that you are paying, you are not entitled to pay that amount. The bank will only loan whatever amount the appraisal says they can loan. So if you're buying a house for $200,000 and the appraisal comes back at $180,000, the bank will not give you a loan for any more than $180,000. More than likely what's going to happen is the seller and you are going to have to negotiate, and the seller's either going to have to come down that $20,000 so the deal can close, or you're going to have to come up with the cash for the rest. I don't really, it really just depends on what y'all negotiate and how good your agent can negotiate for you. But more than likely, you're not really going to have to come out of pocket. Either that or you and the seller will reach an agreement. Now that appraisal is over, you are going to be going to the next step, which is the clear to close step. This is my favorite because this is a point where you have nothing left to do in the loan except go to that closing table and get your keys. Once this is finished, it's basically the lender saying, hey, I have all the information I need. I don't need anything else to run to the underwriter to see if you're approved for the loan. You are good to go. Once that happens, the only thing you have left is to figure out how to wire your money or bring a check to the closing table for your down payment and your closing costs. So when you have your closing costs and your down payment, the title company is going to give you their wiring instructions. You go to the bank, You give them the wiring instructions, tell them how much to wire, and you want to make sure it's all wired before closing. As long as you have it in the title company's possession before your time to close, you're completely fine. I've seen people do it the day of. I've seen people do it the day before. I definitely recommend that you don't wait till the day of, because you don't want anything to be stalled. If you do it the day before or as soon as you can, it'll give the title company and the lender and the agent room to make sure everything runs smoothly in case any hiccups happens, because it just happens all the time. So you'd always want to be kind of one step ahead of the progress, or the situation. And that's it. You are finally closed. You are at the closing table, you have your keys, and you're officially a homeowner. That is the entire process of how to buy a house in Louisiana, step by step. If you guys have any questions, or you want me to make a video on anything else, definitely put it in the comments below and let me know. But thank you so much for watching. Definitely like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.